Welcome back in, race fans, to In the Dirt. And we were moving along in our program. Let's bring back Kyle May and Brian Gray. Let's welcome to the program the back-to-back repeat champion in the Michigan Dirt Cup, modified edition of the Michigan Dirt Cup, Jacob Poel. How are you?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me back on.
You guys are putting trophies up left and right. Talk to us about your season since we last talked to you.
Well, it's been up and down a little bit. You know, every race car driver never has a perfect season unless you're Devin Gilpin this year. But no, he's a great kid. I like talking to the guy. But anyway, yeah, we had a great season so far. We came into the season looking, to hopefully come home with that Dirt Cup title again and the state points title, and decided not to chase any track points. So we had a pretty good season bouncing around, and I think we've been to 25 or 26 different tracks this year, so got some good experience at some places that I'd never even seen or some of them even heard of before, but had a lot of good racing with some good people, and it could have went a little bit better as far as, some of the mechanical issues and stuff, but stuff like that's just bound to happen when you're pushing everything as hard as you can. So
now, I'm looking at the points here, and don't know how your guys work. So how much of the gap between you and say Rockos in third is 20 points? How close is that really? However your guys' points work.
They pretty much follow the UMP points deal, I think. So I mean, every position is a couple of points. Really, I mean, I went into 2 nights from the end of the Dirt Cup. I was back a little bit in third or fourth, and I think I was 19 or so points out, and just kept consistent, getting some top 3 runs in that Dirt Cup deal, and it all ended up working all right. So I mean, you can close up a gap pretty good. I think Rokos went into the last night, just outside or just inside, I guess, of the top 10 in points, and came home third. So it was separated only by like 6 points for the top 4 drivers at the last show there.
Also looking at the standings here, let's see here. You guys have a lot of guys competing. How many guys are actually crossing the state line to come racing? That's 95 people. It looks like or let's see, at least 90 folks have come in and raced with y'all. How many people are just from Michigan?
I would say probably 75% or more of them are all just Michigan racers. When we went down to Butler, I think that we had a couple of guys come in. If we were to race, down southern Michigan a lot more, I think you'd see more of that. But it's pretty hard to get people to cross into Michigan lines for even $1,500.
Now, I don't know. Hey, Gray, what were we talking about with Gilpin's? He had a diffuser or something?
Yeah, last I see, they took that off.
Really? Did you ever hear us talking about that, Jacob? Remember, I think I might even asked you about the diffuser on the engine compartment.
Yeah, I think you asked me something about that panel that goes on the inside there. Yeah. I don't know really much about it. I know that you're allowed to have like it's a rock guard or something like that, and
yeah, but that's to guard the pump on the back of the engine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if somebody's running a panel all the way up the side of the engine, that's not exactly a rock guard protecting the oil, the power steering pump on the rear of the motor.
No, I guess you could say not, but I mean, I'm not really good when it comes to aerodynamics and stuff. I don't even know if it would give you much of an advantage. If anything, it's probably just to get people's goat a little bit and, give them something to look at, you know what I mean? If they're looking at a little aluminum panel on the inside of your engine compartment, they're not really looking at what they need to. And as far as that goes, as far as I'm concerned, usually if they're looking underneath your car, then they're not going to beat you because they need to go spend time on their own car to make it better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. But what the points that we were bringing up earlier in the season about stuff like that are the tech officials even teching the cars? What are they looking at if they're not going to hit the small stuff? I mean, the stuff that's obvious right in front of your face. I mean, how are they getting anything else?
Well, I mean, like I said, I've been to 26 different tracks this year, and the tracks that they have the UMP officials at, there's not really like just a strict thing that they look at. I mean, usually they'll walk around your tape measure, with a body. They'll check underneath. A couple of times I've had them pull out magnets and check axle tubes and blocks and, shocks to make sure that they're steel and weight. But really, I mean, I don't know what more they can really tech. I mean, some guys, it just seems like, I mean, I can understand. I mean, I've seen people running even around here that got, scalloped rotors and carbon fiber drive shafts, and you hear of people that are running traction control, and I've never ran traction control one time in my life. I'm a firm believer that as long as you do your maintenance right and you have a good setup and, a good shock program and a good smooth engine program, that stuff is unnecessary, and it's for people that, I don't even think that I could feel good at the end of the day knowing if I was cheating on something, so.
Well, here's the thing about it, is that I've been, regardless of what people think, I was born into this industry. And as far as I can remember, for as long as I could remember, the slogan around the shop was not anything other than it's not cheating, it's competing. because it's all about what can you get as an advantage. And
right.
And as far as the traction control thing goes, if there were many people out there not using traction control, a company like Davis Technologies would not even exist, because there
right.
would be no market for them to be in business.
Right.
But because they're having such a great last couple of years, they must be selling a whole hell of a lot of them traction control units. Otherwise, they're not going to PRI, IMIS, and promoting the crap out of their product, either on the internet or in magazines or whatever. They're doing very well, and they're selling to a lot of people.
Right. Well, there is. I know that in dirt racing, I don't know of any sanctioning body that allows you to have traction control. But there is some local tracks even here, asphalt guys, that they are allowed to run that stuff. And there's also, a lot of drag racing competitions. There's no rule against having a traction control device for drag racing. So I think. But
why would you specifically market your product to dirt late model and dirt modified guys if you weren't selling to them?
I mean, they must be selling them to somebody. I'm just
because I haven't seen a Davis Technologies commercial for some guy running at Hickory Motor Speedway or up at Sandusky.
Right. Yeah. I mean, obviously, there must be a certain number of racers out there that do run them. But as far as I'm concerned, there's no room for that, in any championship running program, and anybody that uses that kind of stuff to win championships, isn't a real racer at heart. I mean, they might want to win races and everything else, but that's just not the right way to do it, in my opinion.
So back to the Michigan Dirt Cup, and you people have told me, and Grace heard it, and people heard it. People told me that UMP is not exactly heavy on tech. Okay, whether they do or whether they don't, I can't say either which way. But how confident are you with the way Michigan Dirt Cup does things?
Usually at every Michigan Dirt Cup show, we have a UMP official on site. I think that Bill and Andy both, with the Dirt Cup, set it up that way so that, at least they can say they've done their part. It's not really, as a promoter, it's not really their job, I don't think, to tech the cars. They might hear of somebody doing this, that, or the other thing and mention it to the tech official, and usually they take care of it. I had them when I was over at Mount Pleasant Speedway a while back say that, I'd won the Jeremy Dickman Memorial, and they came up and said, well, somebody came up and said that you have illegal shocks on your car. Well, the only thing that was different on my car from any other time is that I switched brands. I went from running Integra Racing shocks, and now I've been running the Penske Racing shocks, and they're silver in color, and I'm sure they just caught their eye, and they thought, oh, all of a sudden, he's got aluminum shocks. So they come up to me saying that I had aluminum shocks. I said, man, if you've got a magnet in your pocket or anywhere around here, you can stick it on any one of them you want. So, I mean, it seems like a lot of times, that I hear that about UMP, and I don't really see them being too strict, but I think that with the way that the economy and stuff is lately, it's really hard for them to come to any track that, say, has 20 cars, and I'm sure on each one of those 20 cars, they can all pick out something on that car that isn't right and push the guys away, because then it would piss the promoters off, and they would drop UMP, and it would just be like a big old, ball of wax. So,
yeah.
I mean, I guess it's just the severity. I think that they should definitely be checking, the big things. But when it comes to a body being, an inch wide here or whatever, this, that, and the other thing. I really don't think that, this is down to total rocket science as far as, dirt racing and modifieds go quite yet, to where the bodies, the aero advantage is really, really going to help somebody out. So.
Well, I can show you some documentation that will change your mind.
Oh, really? I'd love to see it because might learn something. But
well, before we get talk more about the championship, real quick, you guys lost an integral part of your race team over the season. Tell us a little bit about the loss of your engine builder.
Yeah, that's just it was a bad deal up here. My dad, he had the same guy build all his engines for probably the last 20 years that he raced, and actually every car that I've ever drove on the dirt, street stock, modified, what have you, every one of them has had one of his engines. And unfortunately, we lost him suddenly this last summer. And it's been pretty hard for the racing community locally because he was dramatically involved in not only dirt but pavement, and just a heck of a nice guy. Maybe a little bit slow, and some people, didn't like the fact, when he didn't get his engine and that kind of stuff right on time and everything. But when you got it, it was dang near bulletproof unless you did something to mess it up. And he was willing to work with, a lot of the more average racers and try to give them something that was good power and drivable. And just unexpectedly, he had a burst artery in his neck, and he had been at the hospital before that, and they said that, he was dehydrated and this, that, and the other thing, and went back home, and I guess he didn't make it too much past that. So definitely it left a hole in a lot of people's hearts around here. I definitely don't think it was really his time to go yet, but hopefully, everybody can find somebody that'll take care of their engines the same way that he did, and with the amount of care that he put into all of it. So,
well, that's obviously, it's kind of a bittersweet way to have the season end, and looking back, and looking back at what you guys accomplished over the last 2 years, how and of course, I don't want to be too coarse here, but looking forward, what does this do to the program as you go forward, since you've never known nobody else?
Like I was saying, I don't think that we've really found a way to fill the void there yet. I've got a couple of guys that have, talked to me about maybe doing some stuff, but I've seen so many guys over the years that have had Brian build one of his engines, go to somebody else, and if they don't do things the exact same way, it's like the motor that I got in my car. Honest to God, to you guys right now, between my father and I, we've been running this motor for 11 years. And we just, keep freshening it up. We give it the parts and everything that it needs. But, it's got laps on it. And most people, in their racing program, they don't have room for that. But this guy was just really good, and he knew when something was bad enough to replace, and he knew when, it would make it and be just fine. And he like I said, the only time that we've ever had a problem with one of his engines is when we were running an outlaw show with a big old board on the car and sprint car tires and wide open around the track for 50 laps, And it's just really, I don't know how to fill it yet. With the funding that I have right now, I can't afford to go out to a very reputable, builder, like a Yates or Vic Hill or Ryan or any one of these guys that build great motors, for a lot of racers. For my program, it really sinks the dent in pretty far. And, with our consistency and with all of our good finishes and championships here in the last 2 or 3 years, we've been hoping that somebody could step forward and help out just a little bit. And, we have some help when it comes to sponsors and stuff, but when it came to those engines, that man made it to where on our budget we could still be a competitive racer. And without him there, it's going to be pretty hard to fill that. So,
well, you certainly have 2 championships to prove that. Congratulations on this latest one. Before we let you get out of here, thank some of those sponsors that have put you up there with the trophies.
Lakeshore Custom Services, Sweet Manufacturing. I'm still going to thank, Duratec Racing Engines, because especially this year and all of my past, wins and everything have all been, it's the heart and soul of the car, is the motor. And, it's this 22 below bar and grill that I was talking to you guys before. They've kept on board, and, they're going to be my closest bid to helping out with the issue that we're having there. So I'm really hoping that maybe with these championships that they'll step up a little bit more and help out so that we can still have a good program for next year.
Well, Jake, I'm going to keep up with you. Feel like we've talked several times over the year. How many more times are you going to hit the racetrack this year?
Well, it just depends on really the motor situation right now too. The motor that I've got in there this season, I've put 35 nights on it so far. And I've got another one that's going together, but it's just kind of going slow right now. We're going to race a couple more times in Michigan. There's 2 shows this weekend coming up at Berlin where they're putting dirt on an asphalt track up here for a World of Outlaw show, and we're one of the support classes there for a couple of days. So we're going to run that and hopefully get down to Eldora and, try to contend for the UMP Nationals there. And I've heard of a couple of other big shows, one, down at County Line Speedway that I've talked to, I think, Steve Summerlin a couple of times about going down there. I've heard of a couple other bigger shows. So, as long as the car is in good shape and there's no snow on the ground, I guess we're going to keep trying to race.
Well, good luck, Jacob. And, hey, do me a favor and tell Thurlby that we got a spot on the show for him if he called me back.
All right, sounds good. I'll get a hold of him sometime.
Jacob Poel, the 2012 modified champion of the Michigan Dirt Cup. Thanks for coming on, brother.
Yep, no problem. Thanks for having me, guys.